Thank you very much. Quick shot. A very different story here in Game 2 of the series. SKT striking back, evening it up 1-1. Crepo, jump right in.
Yeah, I just want to say I know what it feels like to be spawned right there, so I sympathize with him. The official never
Spend
lets
a lot
me
of time.
talk.
Don't worry, I will let you talk on this desk. And the first thing I want you to talk about is the draft phase here for RNG, opting into the same exact competition at SKT played in Game 1, barring the Olaf for Lee Sin here, and then SKT on the flip side, playing something entirely different.
Yeah, I mean, team compositions that run Karma, Ezreal, Poppy, Victor are 0-2 so far in the quarterfinals in this series. But really, I think a lot of this was decided in the early game, and then SKT was able to close it out. The fact that it took 43 minutes does kind of speak to the fact that RNG did have some tools to keep the game going, but so much of it was just off of that 3-minute fight.
And it was, again, bringing it right back to the comps that SKT were playing in Week 2. These poke comps, they didn't have Jace this time, but it was all about setup. And even though they had a true tank, they had a Zac. Zac's much more effective, actually out of range, looking to jump in and engage, rather than standing in front of, say, the poke champions like the Jhin, for example. So it was still very much the same flavor of the comp that they played so dominantly and so uniquely well in Week 2.
And honestly, if you look at Duke, this game, that is the one saving grace maybe for RNG. If you look at the scope of the series, he had a mediocre Game 2. He had a really bad Game 1. He had the only person that had deaths on SKT this game. So maybe that's an area that RNG can hit next few games. Yes, they lost early on by having that real large deficit that kind of made the game over. But just stabbing away at a potential weakness could win you games in the long run.
Well, and exactly. And I think if you talk about, RNG's saving grace, especially, what kept them in this game for so long was that side lane pressure created by a Poppy that had a Sheen. But I do want to talk about that bit of misplay that you mentioned, that deficit that was created for RNG.
It almost,
level 3 craziness here.
Yeah, it almost looked like if you go into the river play, like you suddenly see a level 2 Olaf, and you're like, wait, hang on. That's
How
like
did I get here?
It's in a sitcom. It's like frame pauses, record scratches, like, hey, it's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. And that's exactly what we were wondering.
As an Olaf, level 2 against a Zac who's done 3 camps, and you start thinking, how could an Olaf be level 2 in the river against a Zac? Oh, he only has 2 camps down. Maybe he skipped Wolves and just decided to rush Scuttle Crab. No, that's not actually what happened.
What else could have happened?
Maybe Faker would be able to steal a Wraith. Is another thing you think.
Oh, he's playing Varus. That's a pretty good idea.
That didn't happen either. And I wish we had the replay of this because there was a small wolf that Olaf didn't clear at level 2, chased him all the way into lane. 1 hit, didn't get it.
10 health
left. He kills that wolf. He's level 3. That entire exchange goes differently.
I mean, that was definitely the analyst desk peanut guy. We're like, wait, Olaf's the fastest clear. He started blue. That's definitely the fastest route you can take. How could he possibly be level 2 to a level 3 Zac? And watching it back, we had the benefit of doing that ourselves. It was comical.
Yeah, and that nets the 2 kills for SKT. And we had already talked about after Game 1, SKT's ability to play from behind. Now you grant them 2 essentially free kills before 3 minutes, and we just witnessed what SKT can do from ahead.
Yeah, it was a little comical, but it was also tragic because I think it starved us of what could have been a good game.
Great game.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of that is known to RNG right now, like whether or not in the back room MLXG is saying, guys, I really messed that up. I really think we should just try and restart that one. Or if he's just like, no, we made some bad rotations in that river there, and don't look at me, guys. Because I think the composition can work. You saw they had pick potential in the later fights. It's hard to push into a victor, but we've now seen 2 lopsided games with very similar compositions from the losing sides.
Yeah, especially if you play into poke. If you give poke a lead early, man, their gameplay is so easy. Just whack away at you. You get down. Eventually, they take objective control. Poke from even is balancing on a knife's edge. It's also, if you look at the C9 game, it only takes 1 teleport plank to ruin the game. Poke from behind is impossible to play because you don't put them low enough. They're just going to walk in and kill you over time. So that's exactly why RNG shouldn't feel too bad. SKT can be happy. They played it right. They saw level 2 Olaf in river. They decided to kill him. Malta came up and gave another free kill. And that was the game.
Yep. And while with this lead, SKT never looked uneasy, right? In fact, they looked very methodical, back into their traditional form. We did still see them take some time to close this game out, maybe in part due to the Drake RNG and not getting those Infernals or the Earth Dragons. But at the same time, I feel like that does bode well for RNG, that they too have found some ways to stall out a game and make sure they can still contest those global objectives.
I really liked the blue side Jace ban. To me, that was the big thing, is because the only pressure laner left is Kennen. And actually, in the last 2 years, Duke has never played Kennen. It's first recorded game on Kennen since perhaps 2014, 2013, maybe first in his career, and it didn't look like his Jace. He didn't have the same sort of trademark ability to push up. Poppy obviously got the item, started to pressure as that lane naturally goes, but it wasn't a plug-and-play replacement for the Jace that looked so good for SKT in week 2.
And I think it's scary when you're looking at, a player like Faker pulling Varus out here. Of course, we did see him play it once in the group stages, but overall has not played that champion very much in his career, and yet putting up performances like that, top damage on the team. And, that, again, when I'm looking at champions, like, it seems like Duke might be the only person you can attack. Other than that Zyra Jhin lane did look pretty gross.
Yeah, I think the Zyra Jhin lane looks gross. As far as attacking someone in Champ Select, I still think there's value in attacking the jungle pool. We've seen a poorly Sin game from Bengi, and a Zac game where, yes, he did solo kill the Victor at 50 minutes, but aside from that, he wasn't landing very many of his jumps. So I think if you're RNG, you continue to throw multiple jungle bans into these games, especially when they go back to the red side. They won their game on the red side. I'd expect Elise Olaf as their bans.
Yeah, so we'll probably find out on the other side of the break whether or not they're swapping sides. But now I do, with this game in mind, and maybe some of the addendums we've made in terms of that wonky early game situation, want to ask you guys, what is your confidence level that this series does go to 5 games? How confident are you that RNG can hit that reset button, as you mentioned, Jad? Are they in that back room saying, look, we got to throw this game out of our minds because certain things didn't fall in our favor, and we can rebound?
Yeah, that's RNG though, right? We say MLXG, he's going to clear that whole camp before, but he makes similar decisions in the past of like 2-camp gank. If it doesn't work, we'd lose the game. This wasn't a choice, it was just a flat-out mistake, but I actually don't trust RNG's ability to win another game against SKT, especially that SKT now has momentum and theoretically wouldn't be affected by any nerves. I still actually think it's SKT 3-1.
I mean, RNG play on the razor's edge, right? When they look good, they look so good. Then you have games like this. And this was, again, a very small mistake that obviously was massive given how the game played out. I don't know if I have confidence in them picking up another win, but how much do you really learn from a game where such a small mistake snowballed so massively? All you learn is that if you give SKT an inch, they take that mile.
They still gave away quite some pick and ban information here, just drafting champions that SKT played. In general, this wasn't a strange composition from RNG, but the more info you give to SKT, historically, a lot of their series at international tournaments, Game 1, close. Game 2, a little less close. Game 3, it's over. And similarly, right now, Game 1 went to RNG. This one was granted due to the mistake, a lot less close, but I think that pattern will continue, and that's why I think SKT will take it 3-1.
I was about to say, it's beginning to feel like the classic SKT best-of-5 ramp-up here, but stay tuned because Game 3 is coming your way right after this.